But hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. We're talking about Jordan Peterson again, right? My fourth video in a row. But I do think that interview was so much full of goodies, right? And I do believe that it can serve everybody that watches this channel, that is getting to the approach of really putting the Lord into anything that we do, being a creative, showing up online with a clear message that aligns with what God wants for you, and serving with a purpose and a meaning. I think Jordan Peterson is one of those best people that actually can show us the way. So we're diving deep into it. Let's talk more about it.
You might say, well, I want to be happy. And people say that all the time. And they don't even know what the hell they mean when they say that. What they actually mean is that they don't want to suffer too much. They don't say, I don't want to be unhappy. They say, I want to be happy. But happiness is incentive reward, and it only occurs sporadically when you're pursuing a goal. And happiness has its dangers too, because it makes you impulsive. And when people say they want to be happy, they actually don't know what they mean. And what they really mean is something like, I want to have a meaning that will sustain me even through catastrophe. And that's not happiness, because when you're in a catastrophe, which you will be, or maybe always are, you're not going to be happy. Okay, so where do people find meaning? And my conclusion, fundamentally, it's not mine, this fundamental axiom of Western civilization, is you find true meaning in voluntary self-sacrifice. If I'm going to be in a community, I have to give up myself, like my short-term, merely me-focused self. Obviously, that's the definition of community. You know, if it's me first, always, there's no community. So to me, these things, they've started to become almost truisms. It's like, well, obviously community, the stable, healthy community is predicated on voluntary self-sacrifice. Like, well, how else could it be? No sacrifice? No, that's not going to get you anywhere. The sacrifice of other people? Well, that's a little convenient for you. Plus, the other people don't exactly appreciate it. And so, you know, if you're a good mother, there's
so much easier that way.
Well, right, it is in the short term. But that's the other thing, it's actually not easier. So psychopaths do that all the time. They sacrifice other people to their own whims at the drop of a hat. So what happens to psychopaths? Well, they end up in prison. They fail to learn from experience. They have to wander from town to town. Like, they end up in hell. It doesn't work because people catch on. You know, usually.
I think there's definitely a way to see it as we want it all. We getting to that point where we've been used to having so much, especially with the Western civilization, right? Here, especially in Canada, United States, a lot of countries in Europe, we have modern ways of doing things. Everything gets more easier and easier and easier each time. And with that, we forget the struggle to even get to that point of technology on modern world, I would say. Let's say in certain countries in Africa, there's still the suffering. There's still like a really big struggle around finding something to eat. Not in every country in Africa, but let's say in small cities, small towns, some people have a hard time. Even in big cities, some people are having a hard time. And it's not the same thing as here, where if you don't work, at least you get the government to pay for you for a couple of months, right? If you got fired. Nowadays, because we have it all, we expect a lot more. We have higher standards that actually sometimes don't make sense, because we want the success without having to go through the struggle. We want to be happy without having to go through the hardships. We want the money without having to go through what it is to truly work for that money. You may have a conception where working gets you more money, but when you get to be an entrepreneur, for example, you got through the ups and the downs and nothing makes sense whatsoever. It's not because you're gonna work harder, especially at the beginning of being an entrepreneur, that you're gonna get more money. So you have to be able to see the journey here and to see what's important for you and what you have to sacrifice, what you have to give out in order for you to get something. And because we don't have conversations, because we expect so much without having to do anything, that's why we are not happy. Because we want to be happy without understanding where it comes from. And like he said, it's the end goal. Being happy is the end goal. And now the point about the community is a really valid and strong point, because I'm very much introverted, even if it doesn't look like it, because I talk to you like in front of the camera, but there's nobody around, right? And when you are introverted, it's just so much more difficult. But again, You might like the idea of being in a community. And I think sometimes you have the idea, but we don't understand how much we need to work first. It's like starting a business here online, social media, whatever, any type of business. It requires you to know how to sell. I'm saying that you understand the concept and the logic behind just starting a business, building a community. You have to go through the ugliness. And the point is bringing here is pretty much that it's not about you. And I think usually what hurts us more is our own ego of getting rejected, of getting hurt more than anything else. When you get to coach somebody, it's not about you. A community usually is not about you. It's about the purpose and the goal that you have, the vision that you have for other people, not for you first. And then you come along. When Jesus came, he didn't come for him. He came to serve with purpose and goal and clarity because the Lord asked that. His Father asked that. It's the same thing for us. When we're serving, when we want to build community, we need to literally forget about that. And I think nowadays it's a lot about me, me, me. We want a community, but we're still gonna think so much about our own hurt self or our own triggers more. I want to get along with them, but I don't want to talk to them. I'm a timid person, I'm a shy, I'm an introvert person, and just the idea of talking to people sometimes makes me sick a little bit. But then I tend to really get to the point of saying, you know what, I'm going there to help them. I'm going there to ask for them, for their stories, not about me. And then it gets easier because I think about them and not about me. And that's why I get to enjoy even more of conversations and things that I do enjoy with other people. Sometimes I'm still gonna stay at home, I'm still gonna enjoy myself at home. But when I get out, when I talk to people, I think about them first. I mean, like, I'm gonna go there and ask questions and just understand and listen. And then I'm starting to have fun that way. But it's easy more and more. That's community, that's building something, that's being happy, being the end goal of doing things that might at first make you feel another type of way.
But then each dramatic thing that happens after that, it's like, oh, you know what? I already did this once and I survived. And then I think you can take on more risk.
Well, then you also have a different conception of what you are, because here's conception one. I am what I believe. Okay, that's great as long as it's working, but as soon as your belief collapses, well then who are you? And then the next conclusion is, I'm whatever is left over when my belief system collapses. And that's the depressive, nihilistic state. It's like, well, you know, everything's up in the air and life is fundamentally misery and I'm this disoriented thing, and that's the essential nature of being. You know, stable state, collapse into chaos. I'm the stable state, no, I'm chaos, no. Well then, order reemerges from chaos, and now you think, well, I'm the new order. And that's the fervor of a convert. But then it collapses. And then you do that 5 times and you think, oh, I see, I'm the thing that does this. Right, that's right, that's Sisyphus. It's the voluntary acceptance of the fate of Sisyphus. You're the thing that's rolling the stone up the mountain, and then it rolls back down, but it's a different mountain each time, and maybe each peak is higher, right? And so then you're the thing that transforms. That's why in the Judeo-Christian ethos, in the Judeo-Christian narrative world, your soul is identified with the dying and resurrecting Savior, because you're the thing that goes through this process of purification by repeated deaths and rebirths, right? And so then you're the thing that withstands the repeated deaths and rebirths in the favor of the emergence of a higher order, you know, and the pathway of that's Jacob's ladder, that's the pathway to paradise, that's the hero's path. That's why Jung said that Christ was a symbol of the self, because that core self isn't what you believe, and it's not the catastrophe that ensues when belief disintegrates. It's the process by which you're honed in fire by repeatedly encountering, you know, what's salutary and transforming. And then if you identify with that, the more you identify with that, the more you can say, bring it on.
Yeah.
Right? And the ultimate extent of that is probably something like embracing your enemy. And you think, well, how the hell can I do that? It's like, here's a hypothesis. The more you could embrace the worst enemy, the more radically you could transform for the better.
You're not your beliefs, not a process for you to go even through the beliefs that you're building, right? The way he's talking about it is pretty much the differentiation about what you think, what you believe, and who you are as a person. Because the process makes you more and more becoming, transforming through being a better person, having those beliefs, having those stands, having a process. And you're getting stronger by it because you're taking more responsibilities over your actions, right? Because if I'm the one to say, I'm the way I am, and this is why I can change, it's easy for me to run away from anything that I have to do in order for me to change. And that's why you have a lot of people nowadays, they have it easier to identify themselves with beliefs when it's just a part of them. It's not them. What you think is not who you are. You are not a bad person because you have certain beliefs that I might disagree with. And I think it's the Christian realm, let's say the Christian approach. What I find beautiful, especially in the Catholic one, it's not because you holding a certain, let's say, beliefs about things that are in contradiction with the church that you are a bad person. Is the way people might interpret it, because you might think, well, there's a certain group of people that the church can't accept. They don't accept the sins, they don't accept the actions, but they do accept the people. Because when you get to the church, which is the home of the Lord, the house of the Lord, it's pretty much based on His rules, not my rules, not your rules. Because you're coming there, whatever you might think about, He's still gonna love you the same way, right? He's gonna love you the same way that He loves me, that He loves somebody else. Now the actions and the beliefs are a part of you. And this is where you're working on that. Through the chaos, through falling, through re-emerging, through transforming again. You're becoming more and more and more and more the version of Christ. You're becoming that better person. But your identity is not tied to whatever you might think today, because it might change tomorrow as well. And you're gonna change along the way, not because it's a process, but because it's a belief. And that is more dangerous than anything else, because the moment you're losing that belief, it's even harder for you to re-emerge. Unless you understand that you are just the person without the belief. And you're still a person even if you don't hold those beliefs. And you're not a bad person, not a better person. You're just a person transforming, evolving. Right? That's pretty much that. I hope you liked it. I hope you had fun. I'm going to see you for my next episode. Definitely like and subscribe. And definitely let me know what you think down below. And I'm going to see you for my next episode. And like I say all the time, keep smiling because it's free and contagious in a good way. Bye.